Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Love Hour podcast. I'm your host, MrsKevOnStage, and I'm joined by my husband and co-host,
the Kev on Stage.
And if you have been following the Love Hour, you know that we are not relationship experts. We just offer our opinions based on our experiences and books that we've read and things that we've, kind of hit game to, and we just share our experiences with you. And again, if you've been following us for any period of time, for at least the last 6 weeks to 2 months, you know that Gay Hendricks has been raving about this book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. If you have not listened to the last 2 episodes of the podcast, this is you should.
Or here's the thing,
go back.
Or here's the thing, bonus episodes.
Yes.
I've been talking about it. I've been telling all my friends. Last night, I told Danny she needs to read it.
Yes, that's right. We had people over.
Stovetop
Kisses was over, and we, again, talked about this book. Actually, she bought it on the spot. And so definitely listen to those episodes so you can get the framework for this episode. But we are so graciously and honoredly, okay, I'm making up words, to be joined today by the author of The Big Leap, Mr. Gay Hendricks himself. Everyone in the studio audience, which is the 3 of us, please give Mr. Gay Hendricks a hand. Thank you so much for being here with us, Gay. We are, I'm shaking and my palms are a little sweaty right now because I'm so excited.
First, Gay, before we talk, we're going car shopping this weekend. I told Melissa, anything but the Maserati is an upper limit problem. I don't want no BMW. I don't want no Mercedes. I don't want no Toyota. The upper limit me says Maserati Levante. Anything less, I'm not living my best life. So if you could tell her.
I've got to take your side, Kev, if you don't mind.
My boy.
And the reason is you're talking my language because, first of all, I'm kind of a car guy, and I've never recovered from being a teenage car guy. But if I didn't have my car, I'd probably get the Maserati. So you're going to want to know, what car do I have?
You got to have something that I might be talking about now.
What are the chances of this?
What do you have,
well,
Dave?
What I have is an Infiniti Q60T.
Those are nice.
With the 400 horsepower engine.
You got to have the 400.
And the red leather seats.
Red leather?
Yeah, red leather seats. And not only that, my wife helped me pick it out. So you got to be a good wife about this now.
Your wife's name is Katie, right?
Gay!
Katie, yeah.
Where is Katie?
Katie gonna come in and say, yeah, tell Kev to get the Levante. And you know what, Gay? When I was coming back from my walk this morning, I was passed by a Levante, and I came and told Liz. She said, "That ain't no sign. That is the Lord. That is the Lord."
Or you could be a little more conservative and responsible and get the Quattroporte.
I could do that. I could do
That's
that.
Actually why didn't you say Toyota Corolla, Gay?
We are done with the Toyota part of our life. Okay, I don't want to hijack the conversation.
No, if you're going to get anything, get the Toyota Supra.
Now you're talking. Somebody tried to get in my car. She thought I was an Uber. I said, this is not upper limit. Upper limit people don't have this problem. Okay, let's get started. Because I want the people to know what I know.
Yes.
And if they don't want to read, maybe this will get them to read the book.
Definitely you should read the book. But before we even go down that path, I do want to allow the opportunity for Gay to introduce himself for those people in our audience who are unfamiliar with you. Please lay the framework for who you are.
Yes, well, I'm here by the grace of our great spirit and the fact that I happened to get lucky enough to marry a woman named Gay Hendricks 40 years ago. And so those are a couple of elements about me. Believe it or not, let me just stand up here for a second. I probably, many of your people are watching. I weigh about 180 pounds and I'm 6 feet tall, okay?
Oh, wow.
Now, the reason I'm here is because when I was 24 years old, I weighed 320 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I was still 6 feet tall, by the way. I wasn't up there like Shaq or anything.
Wow.
At 6 feet tall, I had 140 more pounds wrapped around me than I have now. And so I had a big wake-up enlightenment experience when I was 24. I'd always carried a weight problem. Something was wrong glandularly from the very beginning because I was the only fat person in a family where everybody else was skinny. And so I was taken around to medical specialists and given shots and pills and you name it. But I never got the weight off until I was 24 and I had a big wake-up experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything since then, I feel like has been a tremendous degree of learning as I've learned different things about who we really are as human beings. But one thing I learned is I was using my weight, and also I wore glasses at the time, and I smoked cigarettes heavily. And I was also in a job I hated and in a relationship that wasn't going well. And I didn't like my car, by the way, either. So you can tell I was really in the pits. And so I had this moment where I actually, what happened was I fell down and I didn't knock myself out, but I landed with a big whoomp on an icy road in New England, taking a walk one day. And in that 2 minutes after I fell down, I got a whole different sense of myself because I felt underneath all of my 300 pounds, I could feel there were all these emotions like fear and anger and sadness that I'd never talked to anybody about, certainly, and I didn't even know about in myself. And underneath that, though, was where the real magic was, because as I felt all of those emotions and all of the parts of my past that I was denying and concealing, I got to this place where there was just pure consciousness. There was no programming on it. And I realized that's who we are as human beings. We all come in with this spacious sense of being here that then gets interfered with the kinds of things we're programmed, you know, like I grew up in such a way that I was a source of great shame when I appeared because my father had died and wasn't in the picture, and my mother was, you know, a single parent, and so there was a lot of messy things around life from the very beginning. But in a way, I realized in that moment, none of that mattered, because that space of pure consciousness was a place where I could reinvent myself. And so within 100 years, within a year, I lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
Not within 100 years, but I lost actually more than 100 pounds over the next year. I also didn't need glasses anymore. I somehow passed my driving test ever since without having to have glasses restrictions, which I had beforehand. I also got out of the troubled relationship and into a much better relationship and changed. I invented my job, by the way. I decided to invent a job I wouldn't ever want to retire from. So I became a psychotherapist and then a professor. And in 1989, Katie and I had this brilliant idea. We were sitting in front of the fireplace, and we'd just done a group for maybe 6 couples in our living room working on our form of relationship counseling. We'd made some really big discoveries. And we said, you know, we're sitting in front of the fireplace. You know, we really ought to take this out to a bigger audience. We ought to write a book about this and so I set to work and I wrote my first relationship book, Conscious Loving, with Katie. We've since written about 10 books together, but that was the first one where we wrote it together. And so we had this extremely fortunate thing that not long afterwards, we got a call from a talk show host with an unusual name, Oprah. And at the time, we didn't have a TV set, so we really didn't know much about Oprah.
Wow, that's
And
crazy.
so we went overnight from working with a dozen couples in our living room to working with 10 million people on Oprah. And then things never really slowed down for the past 30 years. Oprah is retired now, but her stuff keeps living on because somewhere in the world, somebody's running a replay of our show with Oprah on it today in India or China or someplace like that. And so it's been a wonderful ride thanks to her over the past 30 years.
First of all,
Shout
we
out
have
to
a
Big
whole
O.
entire guest on our show that was on the Oprah Winfrey show. Lord have mercy.
Look at God.
I a little bit had a moment.
Picking up the Maserati this weekend.
Well, I think that was a fabulous introduction. Yeah. One of the things that we have kind of been alluding to this whole conversation, and I think we should probably dive right into it, is this idea of the upper limit, your upper limit problem. I don't know that you call it the upper, yeah, you do. You call it the upper limit problem. For those people that are unaware, can you define what the upper limit problem is?
Okay, I like this question now because of talking about cars, because imagine Kevin in his new Maserati and he gets it out on the freeway, no traffic, and so he decides to take it up to the limit. And so he gets up to about 65, 75, and all of a sudden something starts slowing the car down. What do we got there? We got Mad Kevin.
Yeah.
And so what happens is he's wondering, oh, I'm scared there's something wrong with my car. What's going, is it me? Is it the car? You know, so that's how the upper limit problem works. We get a little more successful, and then old beliefs about our past kick in, and old fears kick in. And I'll tell you shortly exactly what those fears are so you'll know what to look for. But what happens is if we start moving faster, getting more love, getting more success, having more good feeling, those fears come up and the upper limit kicks in, and we go and bring ourselves back down to a more comfortable, familiar level. Even though it makes us miserable, at least it's familiar to us.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so I discovered that myself some decades ago now, and I started solving the problem in myself by gradually accustoming myself to feeling good for longer and longer periods of time. So one of the first questions I ask in the Big Leap is, are you willing to feel good for longer and longer periods of time each day? And another related question in your relationships, are you willing to allow yourself to experience more of the flow of love for more and more minutes every day? Because once you say yes to that, you start seeing life in a whole different way. Now life is about increasing the amount of love flow in your life. Now life is about increasing the amount of good feeling. Because when you're feeling good, you have more to offer everybody else around you.
Yeah.
You know, one of my old yoga teachers way back when I started yoga said, if I can give myself 1 hour a day, I can give my kids and my husband 23 good hours. But if I don't give myself that hour a day, I don't give anybody any good stuff. And so we need to kind of pay attention here first to the instrument that we're playing all the time, which is our consciousness, and work on getting to feel better and better all the time.
So go ahead.
No.
Kev,
Just thinking about the Maserati color I'm going to pick out, black or white.
one of the
go
ahead.
Go for black.
That's
Don't
the
go
one
for
that-
don't go for a white car. In Florida, where I grew up way back in the 50s and 60s, every rent-a-car was white. And so if you saw a white car, rent a car. And I don't know if that's still true or not.
No, I rented a white one, but a black one passed me today.
Well, the black one really looks good, and you got to obviously keep it from getting that California dust all over it all the time.
Of course.
But my buddy bought a new Tesla recently, and when I saw it, I didn't know he'd bought white. And when I saw it in white, anyway, don't get me started on white cars.
I won't. I'm not going to sidetrack you anymore.
Wait,
Okay.
So let's continue down this path of the conversation with the upper limit problem in the car, right?
Yeah.
One of the most pervasive questions that people have is how to decipher an upper limit problem and a responsible choice. How do you tell which way you're going?
Yes. Well, it has to do with the presence of fear. And fear is way down in the middle of our bodies. You know, where you feel fear is in the same general area that you feel hunger, which causes us a lot of problems. Because I used to eat when I was lonely, or eat when I was scared, or eat when I was hurt, or
Is that why we're emotional eaters?
Yeah.
Don't go get sidetracked.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, and this is really where the upper limit problem speaks to us in a big way.
Okay.
Because imagine with a car, or let's say with a diet. I bet just about everybody has been on some kind of diet at one time or the other. I know I've been on 1,000 of them. I was put on many of them when I was a kid too. And also one year I was given diet pills, amphetamines. And for my 9th grade year, I made straight A's in school for the first time because I could only sleep about 4 hours a night, you know. And so then when they took me off of them,
yeah,
it was a gigantic crash. So I want to highlight fear, because when you're angry, you're also scared. and it's further down in your body. You know, when you're angry, your jaw's clenched, your back of your neck gets tight, your fists get, but if you look underneath that, when you're angry, there's always something you're sad about and something you're scared about.
Oh,
and so it's
wow.
very important to ourselves and our own growth, as well as being in relationship, to be able to distinguish when we're truly angry or are we sad and scared about something. And here's my discovery from 45 years of relationship counseling. About 98% of our anger up here is not real anger, because real anger is not about perceiving yourself as a victim. Real anger is not about, real anger is if you've been legitimately violated in some way, or legitimately victimized by some kind of unfair aspect of society, or unfairness within your family. Real anger is a response to unfairness.
Okay.
Whereas a lot of like phony anger is really based in sadness and fear. And that's why, like on one of our relationship websites, we have a testimony from a guy who said that one word changed his entire marriage. He'd been together with his wife for about 12 years. And he realized the word was, I'm scared, instead of I'm mad, or you did this to me, or why don't you quit doing this? He got underneath it and said, oh, I'm afraid, and found out what he was afraid of. And that's really a key to the upper limit problem, because the upper limit problem is driven by only a handful of fears. One of them, which I can almost guarantee everybody's got a little piece of, is the feeling inside that I'm fundamentally bad in some way, or I've done something wrong, or I don't deserve good stuff. I had a lot of that growing up, and I bet many of you and your audience did too. And that's a very, very different sort of thing. The moment you can get underneath that kind of surface level anger and talk about your fears and your sadness, that's where you make a lot of progress in the relationship domain. So people come in here, like now, well, they don't come here now because of the pandemic and everything, but they come here on Zoom and they come here virtually. But sometimes, before March, people would come here from Saudi Arabia or South Africa or someplace in the world often, and spend a few days with us. And inevitably what happens is when the couple starts out, they're way apart because they're not speaking to each other in a relevant way. They're talking, I'm angry and I'm the victim here. No, I'm angry and I'm the victim here. I'm angry, I'm the victim here. No, I'm the real victim here. You, me, you, And I swear, I have had couples in here who've been doing that drama for 20, 30 years without ever getting underneath it. I'm blown away sometimes. I will say to people, why did you wait 20 years to try to solve this problem? Because I've actually had couples in here that have been married 20, 30 years that said the problem started on their honeymoon. And they continued to recycle, who's the bigger victim here? Who's the bigger victim here? And the truth is, you have to say, nobody's a victim. We all just create whatever situation we have. And then if we argue that we're the victim of it, we're in a battle with the universe. And like the great Frank Zappa once said, in a war between you and the universe, bet on the universe.
Right.
So I think one thing Melissa and I have talked about, just talking about the responsible or upper limit problem with the car. Actually, before we talk about that, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay. All right, we just took a break. We want to tell you about Albert. Listen, Gay and Kev are having a really, really good time having conversations about the Maserati.
Maserati Kev is a thing again.
But listen to me, the only way to get the Maserati is you got to be responsible with your finances.
Bingo.
Okay. I actually use the Albert app. I'm about to show you guys right now. They have a host of things that you can use. You can do investing, you could do budgeting, you could do savings. They have a bunch of things.
How much have you saved right now, Liz? Give the people the truth.
Pacific specifically, hold on, let me go into here because it's, they got this stuff together. I have saved $913.11
11 cents
on using their savings feature on the Albert app. I really, really love it. They do it automatically so I can save money without even having to realize it. And the best part about it is Christmas is coming up around the corner. And we all got Christmas presents that we need to purchase and we need to buy.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great way to get a head start on saving up money so that way you can buy the presents that you want for your family in a way that's seamless, easy, and beneficial because it costs you nothing but signing up for the app.
Sign up for the app, man. Save your money, invest your money, use technology to your benefit so you can get the Maserati of your life. Maybe you don't want the Maserati. Maybe the Toyota Corolla is the Maserati of your life, or the BMW, or whatever it is. You can't have none of that stuff if you ain't saving. You understand me?
Yes, Albert is an easy app to set up. It's effortless savings. That's what I should have said. It's effortless savings and expert help with the Albert Genius. Install the Albert app from your App Store or Google Play today to help you find the happy balance and get a bonus of $40 when you start an annual subscription to Albert Genius. Again, you're just going to download the Albert app. Then you're going to get a $40 bonus for signing up with an annual subscription to the Albert Genius.
Okay, now we're back. We both come from poverty, Melissa and I, for a long time. And even the beginning of our marriage, majority of our life. This successful period is only very recent, last 3 to 5 years, where it's successful and there's no signs of it slowing down. However, what we're always afraid of, Melissa, puts it really eloquently, fear that broke is around the corner, right? So if we get a Maserati, which is a car that is really expensive in comparison to what the cars we drive in an 09 paid off Corolla, it's not a wise, choice for our finances. It's not, it's not a, we can get a car that's similar, but not as expensive. And what if something goes wrong and we now have this car payment? That's a lot. To be honest, a lot of things would need to go wrong very, very long period of time for that to be a problem. But that fear sits so real in the back of our mind. It chooses how we buy the house, how we vacation. Well, not how we vacation, not how I vacation. But that fear is very real. How do you quiet that fear so you can get the Maserati?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to advocate that nobody ever buy anything or do anything that's beyond your means and all that, because that brings up more fear and sorrow. So why I so much harp on fear, and we have a lot of resources on our nonprofit foundation website for how to deal with fear, by the way. So foundationforconsciousliving.com is the place to go if you want to learn about our free fear resources. The reason I harp so much on fear is because fear drives the upper limit problem. So if you look underneath your particular upper limit problem, you say, okay, I'm afraid of being poor again.
Yes.
I'm afraid, and I'll tell you, I've had people here worth $100 million, sometimes worth $1 billion, and that fear doesn't go away.
Right.
Really?
If you have $1 billion, because it has nothing to do with money.
Tell me, what does it got
take
to
a
do
big
with?
breath.
Listen, I'm taking a deep breath.
Gay, now you set me up.
Counsel me,
what
Gay.
does it have to do with?
Okay, so around here we say money problems never have anything to do with money, and sexual problems never have anything to do with sex.
Child,
so the
will
big
help
question
us
you're
today.
asking, what do they really have to do with? Okay, so use our body-centered transformation free tool of conscious breathing and just take a couple of breaths into yourself, because I want to promote your wondering about that. So have a moment of sincere wonder about, what do my money problems actually have to do with?
Ooh, why did
Before
I
I
get
jump in
emotional?
with my rap about it.
Okay.
Just wondering about it. Do you come up with any ideas or flashes of memory or flashes of
I actually
pictures
did
or
come
anything
back
like
with a
that?
flash.
I did too. What was yours?
My flash was back to El Paso when we had 9 people in a 3-bedroom house, and it was the lack of enough.
Yeah.
However,
Yes,
we never felt like the lack of love. We lacked like extravagance. but we did not lack love. And like, that's why I tell people I didn't know I grew up poor, because it didn't feel poor. We had food, we had fun, we had, Star Search, you had church, you know what I mean? Our house was filled with love.
Right. My vision was my dad. I've always said this, but it came back to me. My dad sitting at the dinner table. This is when checkbooks were a thing, sitting at the table, writing out checks, balancing his checkbook. But we did grow up around love, but the image, I didn't get warm and fuzzies. I remember him being stressed the heck out because trying to make ends meet that were too far apart was stressful.
Yeah.
That's what comes to my mind.
Yeah. So take that. Now that's beautiful, because now we're in the domain of places where you can make some big changes. So tune into those feelings in your body for a moment, that feeling of seeing your dad stressed out, and feel in your own body how you duplicate that same feeling.
Ooh.
Yeah, feel how you have taken on that, because that's part of your love with your dad.
Oh.
Gay Hendricks.
I wasn't ready to be read today.
Gay Hendricks. Sir.
Somebody said, where do you keep all the edges you snatch?
You are saying, if I'm understanding correctly, you're taking on his stress when that's not even relevant to your life.
Oh no.
Oh no, internet.
Oh no.
Internet, not now.
Oh! We lost him.
Loaded the circuits with love.
Oh, here we go. You're back.
okay.
You're back. Okay. I don't know if you heard what I said, Gay, so I'll repeat it.
I think we blew up the internet with too much love.
We did. I said Melissa is internalizing her father's stress, even though that's not relative to her life.
Yes, and apply that now to you, Kev.
Ooh.
And tune in inside to that old feeling of 9 people in a little house.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9 people in a little house. And underneath that, what's the fear that was present in your body? Maybe nobody could talk about it, but what am I afraid of when I'm sitting there in the evening with those 9 people, or waking up in the morning? What's the background fear that I'm picking up on?
I can tell you very clearly.
Tell us.
There's not enough. There's not enough space. There's not enough food. There's not enough money. There's just not enough for everybody.
Yes. And here's the process that we use in our trainings, and I'll just do a quickie version of it here. But see, those feelings were very appropriate to where you were at the time.
Yeah.
You just don't want them continuing to show up in your body now. Okay? And so the way to do that is take one hand and point toward wherever the past is and say, that was then.
That was then. Come on and take us to church.
And then come around with your hand and come around with your hand and put it on your heart and say, this is now. This is now.
This is now.
This is now.
This is now.
That's a powerful moment.
Do it again with me. That was then.
I will
that was
cry
then.
in your face. That was then.
That was then.
And
this is now.
This is
I have
now.
many of the same memories because my father died before I was born. Died shortly after I was conceived at the end of the Second World War. And so my mother was literally left pregnant with a 6-year-old son and a car that wasn't paid for. And then she eventually got $300 from an insurance, from from my dad's insurance policy. And so this was in 1945, obviously, when $300 was worth more than it is now, but still it was not a very large amount of money to launch a whole new life on. And so I had, like you, to kind of open up to some of those kind of deeply held old fears from back in there, because I can still remember seeing my mother literally crying over the checkbook, trying to make it work, you know, and those things leave a big emotional impression on you because you love those people, you know, and you want to share their pain and you don't want them to hurt. And so we want to honor those feelings. They were right for then, but that was then. This is now. So in this moment of nowness, just appreciate how blessed you are. Just take a moment to celebrate how blessed you actually are.
I want to do this. I'm gonna tell you, it's very hard for me.
It's hard.
As I wanted to say how blessed I am, I
shrank.
I did too. I didn't even take a full breath. A voice in the back of my head said, "Don't brag. Be humble.
Don't brag.
Right.
Everybody else might not have that. It's not right. You're gonna make people feel bad. Like all that. That's what always happens when I feel like that stuff coming up. It's like, nope. Just be small. Do little stuff. You don't want to offend. You don't want people to make people feel bad.
Right.
You know. You don't want no name to get mad at you. Capitalism. You know. It's all kind of stuff.
Yes. So that's the upper limit problem in action. You have a little moment of, celebrating your blessings, and then clunk, you know, the upper limit gets hold of you again. So back to celebration for a moment. Take a moment just right now.
Okay.
Now here's something to celebrate. Here's something to celebrate. I'm going to just speak very bluntly here. Hopefully we're all grown-ups, but how old are you, Kevin?
37.
37. Okay, so 37 years ago, approximately, millions of little sperm cells left your dad's penis and began the equivalent of a 3-mile swim up to a waiting egg. You were one of the millions that won the race. You were the only one that got there. So just take a moment and celebrate.
Millions didn't make it, but I was the sperm that did.
That's enough to suck.
You've probably seen pictures like of the New York Marathon where you see a jillion people running over the bridge. Well, you won a race that was like 100 times more individuals in it that the New York Marathon had.
The best sperm.
So just take a moment and celebrate that.
Take a moment and celebrate that.
Now, Melissa, let's take another thing. Did you know that there are approximately 9 million species on this planet?
No.
I looked that up one time. I was amazed. I didn't know there was that many different things like us on the planet. Well, most of them we don't see because a good many of them are bugs. Okay, but there are 9 million different species here. But isn't it amazing that the three of us and everybody that's watching this happen to land in the species that can have a conversation about the upper limit problem or getting luckier or getting more love in your life? See, to me, that's just so astounding that I want to celebrate that.
Ooh,
okay, so the best place to start any kind of change process is when thorough gratitude and appreciation for what you have now. But now let's take it into the future. Okay, let's take a big leap here.
Okay.
I
got nervous.
Have you ever seen like have been to Amish country or some place where you see horses and buggies still being pulled around on the road? Okay. Have you ever seen one where the horse was pushing the buggy?
No.
No, and there's a good reason for that. Because there's a lot more power in a horse if it pulls something behind it than if it's pushing something from behind. That's just a fact of physics. And I mention that because it's much more powerful to be pulled toward the future by a positive vision of the future than it is to be pushed by something negative from the past.
Oh, that's good.
Come on, Mr. Hendricks.
That's good.
Jesus Cristo. Oh, Gloria. Woo!
Oh, that's
good. I don't want to over-invite myself, but I'm going to have to come back on another occasion because I've got about another 2 hours of stuff that I'm just itching, and I'm just looking at the clock here. But
you're going to have to come back.
You see what I mean? I want you guys now to launch a vision of your future that pulls you to it instead of being pushed from fears in the past. And so,
oh my God.
Wow, how magnificent could Kevin and Melissa get? How magnificent.
In the Maserati, in the house, in the business, even in love. Like, I know this, I came to this book for like success problems, but we do this with love too. We feel like this can't, surely something's going to go wrong. You know, Melissa's case, my parents got divorced. Right. Eventually something's going to happen bad. What if it doesn't? What if it just continues to be good because you continue to work on it being good? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's the way to go about it. And that I could, if I were a betting man, I'd bet big bucks on your relationship flourishing because you have that way of looking at it. And just, man to man, Kevin, when you look at Melissa, like when I look at Katie, I am absolutely blown away every day that I get to be married to her.
So am I, Gay.
Yeah, I can see that in your eyes.
Yes. I'd be like,
man,
bruh, this is
yeah,
outside of like beauty and motherhood. Like she is the pull towards my future.
yes.
Just the way she helps me, the way she cares about me and all that
Okay,
stuff.
y'all got me crying.
She is that pull and and it I don't have the same life without her.
No, you don't.
I don't have the same. It is my greatest lucky thing, biggest blessing.
Well, I mentioned I mentioned the book I wrote just before the big leap called 5 Wishes, and it's all about how to figure out what your 5 biggest goals are in your life. And in it, I take you through a process of where you actually, in your imagination, feel yourself on your deathbed and you look back at your life and say, okay, what made it a success? Well, when I did that process for myself long before I wrote the book, I realized the one thing in my life that I've done that I'm more proud of than anything else is I created a loving relationship with a woman with whom I could grow and change over the years, a relationship that just is better and better and better every year. It started out great, but, and we've had our downs and ups like everybody else. But gosh, just the fact of being with another human being for 40 years and going through all these changes together, it brings a kind of richness to life. And if you have that going, blessings upon you, that whatever you've done to get there, great. It takes a tremendous amount of work. And so let's all just wish that for everyone in the world that wants that. Let's create a space in this moment for everybody to take a big leap into that kind of relationship if they really want to.
This is why I wanted everybody to read the book.
I know.
I want people to feel what I felt when I read it. I want them to feel what Gay is, giving us. I want you to feel that in that moment. This is a great time to take a break.
Yeah.
Feel this break.
Feel this break.
All right. While we take a quick break from talking with Gay, just want to remind you that I heard about Gay in therapy. He was his book, The Big Leap, was a recommendation from my therapist, and therapy has changed my life in so many ways. And this is one. And guess what? BetterHelp is here to help you change your life through therapy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of stuff going on right now.
There's a lot of stuff
in the world. The pandemic has brought together a lot of problems, and there's nothing wrong with having somebody help you sort through those problems, those feelings, so you can live your life without the upper limit problems, okay?
Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? As Kevin said, Kevin has gone through the upper limit problem, and he has started therapy in order to overcome those things. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communication in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas. The service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you don't have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy.
BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted daily. You can check out BetterHelp.com/reviews to see some of those. And visit BetterHelp.com/LoveHour. That's BetterHelp, better HELP, and join the over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. Special offer for the Love Hour listeners. You can get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/LoveHour.
Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LoveHour. And of course, Listen, we want to tell you about our most favorite friend of the podcast, Blue Chew.
Get your penis right. You want to get your sperm to the front? First, you need a hard penis. My dad had a hard penis, and without that, I wouldn't even be here. You deserve the hard penis you want. You deserve premium pumps with your lady friend. Sometimes your penis ain't ready for premium pumps, and you got half chub pumps, quarter chub pumps, but you want full on, full tank of gas, premium pumps, and Blue Chew will get you right there. Listen, I tell you right now, Blue Chew gave me premium pumps.
It did, and as Gay said, you won the race of all the millions of people there, and the way to pay it forward is to use Blue Chew.
Zay Zay and JoJo are here because of premium pumps, and Blue Chew wants you to have that right now. We got a special deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free when you use our special promo code LOVE.
Love.
Just pay $5 shipping against that. Again, that's BLUE Chew.com, promo code LOVE, to try it for free. And remember, when you support our sponsors, you make the podcast possible. So please be sure to use our promo code LOVE at BlueChew.com. Get the erection you deserve. And we're back.
Yes.
I'm glad you said you want to come back, because I feel like I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm like, there's no way we get through this with 30 minutes left. And I don't want to.
Not even 30.
Not even. Oh, he has 11 or 11:15.
11.
But he said he could go to 11:15.
Yeah, I can push it to 11:15 if I need to.
Okay.
I do need to. I ain't gonna hold you. I'm gonna need that. I need that 30 from you. I need that 30 from you.
I want him to go over the other barriers as well.
Yeah. I feel like the hidden barriers.
The 4 hidden barriers. Yeah, because we went over the one.
Yeah.
Which is the feelings of unworthiness, which I definitely
feeling of unworthiness, what we call feeling fundamentally flawed.
Fundamentally flawed.
And then a second one, which so many people in our field, people who are interested in human potential and growing and that kind of thing, often suffer from a fear of outshining other people. Like, for example, you touched on it a moment ago, Kev, when you had that moment of expansion, and then all of a sudden these old pictures come into your mind. And one of the things I had to confront and deal with is I'm the only sort of super successful person in my family, the only one to write books and make a lot of money and stuff like that. And so it's been a challenge to deal with members of, my extended family, just in some practical ways, like folks asking me for loans and things like that, which I'm able to do oftentimes, but not able to do all the time, obviously.
Right.
And so, but if you have a big extended family, it sort of makes that complicated. And so I wanted to kind of warn you about that, because as you expand more, things come up with friends and family that are kind of like a upper limit in a way, because another one of the fears is the fear of being disloyal to people in your past that helped you get there.
Right.
And
Gay Hendricks, when I tell you this one hit me in the mouth like a bag of hot nickels, bruh.
Yeah.
Because I got middle child syndrome on top of that, like on top of this other stuff. And my brother was super successful in sports and stuff. And my sister was the only girl. So I had a lot of feelings of like, though they want them, but nobody wants me type stuff. And then that my real dad not being a part of my life, that was true abandonment. And then just people in the industry, friends who I've, old companies I've worked with, or people we were at the same level before. And then I continue to grow. Like, it came up in my life in so many ways.
Sure.
And it was kind of like undiagnosed.
Sure.
I was just, my therapist recommended this book to me. So I recommend therapy. Because of so many episodes of talking about, or so many sessions talking about this with her, she was like, you need to read this book. Because, Gay goes
her heart. Thank you.
Yeah, she's a fantastic therapist. And you were speaking, this specific part was speaking to so many parts of my life where I was like, I don't want to be that much successful, because what if they can't go?
Right.
What if they can't do? What if my other comedian friends don't sell out this much? Or what if people don't want to work as hard as I am? Or what if they can't vacation where I want to vacation? Then I shouldn't go.
Right.
If they can't go. But that's wrong.
Well, it speaks also to a part of yourself that you do need to acknowledge, though. There's a part of ourselves that's compassionate. And in Buddhism, it's what they call bodhisattva, which is it's a type of Buddha that wants everybody to be enlightened just like they are, you know, that has that wanting everybody to have a good time feeling. And I can even remember that as a kid. I was drawn, I don't know why, I think I mentioned it in The Big Leap, but when I was 4 or 5 years old, I got a trike. I got a trike for my birthday, tricycle. And it was raining and I couldn't ride it outside. And so I rode it around my grandmother's living room. She gave me permission. And when I was growing up until the age of 7, I lived more at my grandparents' house than I did with my mother because my mother was struggling a bit. And so when I think of my parents, it's oftentimes I kind of think of my grandparents. But my granddad helped me put a cardboard box in the corner of the room and helped me put a sign on it, believe it or not, that said problems. And I sat in my box, and it was supposed to be my office, and people were supposed to come and talk to me about their problems. Wow. Now, my family thought this was hilarious, because here's this little kid. Oh, and I commuted over to my office on my tricycle. See? And so I was a busy little therapist from the very beginning. And one of the things I kept noticing, though, was, why can't you guys just get along? You know, like my grandparents were 2 of the most loving people in the world when they weren't in the same room together.
Right.
And they were married 63 years, but I say they spent 59 and a half of those years fighting with each other and not speaking to each other. But individually, you know, they're extremely loving to me, and I wouldn't be here without them. But, you know, it's always puzzled me. Why can't we get along? And this is the reason we can't get along, is because we have these hidden fears that are operating under the surface. And you need to kind of begin to look inward a little bit to discover what those are. The problem is when a lot of people start to look inward, they do it with self-criticism. Oh, like, oh, why am I doing this again? Or why did I do this? You know, and it's the same voice somebody else would use to criticize us.
Wow.
You can never criticize a problem away in another person or yourself. Problems can only be loved to extinction. They can't ever be criticized out of your body. You got to love yourself exactly the way you are, with all your faults and flaws and incompletions and desires. You know, all of that needs to be loved. As Walt Whitman said, I am large and contain multitudes. We're all like that. We're large and we contain multitudes. And all of it needs to be held in a context of love. The moment you begin to love yourself thoroughly, then it becomes possible to love another person even more thoroughly. So the two work in a nice continuous loop like that.
I want to take a pause really quickly. One of the things that I'm noticing, even in terms of your body language, is as you're talking, how much you're moving, and it almost as if you're like receiving and truly even taking what you're saying is coming back in, and you're taking it back in and receiving it into your body. Just that I am finding to be quite fascinating, because I don't know that as I always speak words, even if they are affirming to myself, that I hear it, I say it, hear it, and then receive it internally and maybe I'm making too much of this, but as I'm seeing you do.
I agree 100%. I was noticing that too. You even move fluidly, as if like
you're taking it all in as you're
and we're just like,
it's literally,
I don't want to be broke.
I'm literally looking at the camera and looking at the difference in just our body language and the tightness that we have in this conversation. It's almost as if it's an uncomfortable conversation.
We're only 6 weeks into the Big Leap.
It's a lot to take in.
Gabe been knowing about it for 30 years.
Yeah, this is like riding a bicycle for me. I can ride it at 80 miles an hour or driving my Infiniti. By the way, I took it out to 130 one time. That's as fast as I've ever gone to it. But that thing was steady as a rock. Took my hands off the wheel.
Listen, Gay, I'm telling you, I was in the Mozzie last week. I had rented it for a brief moment just to see what it felt like again. That thing hit 90 on the 101. And it talked to me. It was like, Kev, you know this ain't nothing for me, baby. And that was in regular mode. I ain't even pushing to sport mode.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, you really just do this. It don't even feel like 90 when you're designed to go, oh my God. When you're designed to go 130, 90 don't feel like nothing.
No.
Because you were designed to go further. Oh, come on in here.
let the man speak.
I'm
before
sorry.
you start
That
to
was
preach.
the Holy Ghost was speaking to me.
We're so churchy, Gay.
Gay. I think that the Maserati is really a synonym for so many things.
Sure.
We're joking about it, but it really is like Melissa and I really struggled to like accept what the success is. I don't know if race plays into it, you know, a little bit too. I don't know. But I remember I was doing my son's podcast earlier, and he said his friends are always like, you guys are rich, you guys are rich, you guys are rich. You know, one of his friends came to our house and you could see it in their eyes. It was like, oh, y'all living different. So Jojo was telling me, he was saying this in the podcast. He was like, oh, we're not rich. We're not rich. And then he said, when we moved to this neighborhood, he was like, he looked around. He was like, wait, are we rich? Because the other houses don't look, my other friends' houses don't look like this, you know, and I feel like I even hesitate to say that. I hate when people say that about me. I don't even know what rich feels like, but I do feel like we put barriers onto how we could live our life for fear of it going back. I remember when I was in therapy, one of my biggest fears is falling off. Okay, I don't want to fall off. What if I get canceled? What if people stop caring about, you know, me and all that? And my therapist, you know, I was comparing myself to other creators who had fell off, you know, but a lot of times they had done stuff to do that. You know, they stopped working, they stopped creating, they were treating people poorly or whatever. And my therapist said, but you don't even do those things that the person did. So why do you have the fear as if you behave in that way? And I realized, similar with you and your dad, like, I'm harboring the fears of actions I don't even do.
Sure.
But it feels so real to me when the actions that the person that cause a person to, you know, lose success, I don't even do that. I don't even do that stuff. But somehow that fear still feels real as if I did.
That's really key to be aware of that kind of thing. I wanted to mention one other fear too, which is the fear of being a burden affects a lot of people. The fear that if I get more successful, that'll mean I'm going to have more burdens.
Yeah, more money, more problems, the songwriter said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was just also, you were mentioning feeling rich and feeling wealthy and that kind of thing. And I don't know if you remember that thing by Chris Rock, where he said the difference between rich and wealthy.
Yeah, yeah.
He said, rich, Shaq is rich.
Right.
But the guy who writes Shaq's check, he's wealthy.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just curious, since I'm kind of a newcomer to your guys' work, when you go out there and do your stuff in the world, are you an on-stage, like a stand-up comedian kind of thing mainly, or how do you make your big bucks?
Stand-up comedy is the main thing. Touring usually is the main thing, and then video, brand deals, commercials, podcast revenue, merchandise, all of those. But the big bucks are from stand-up comedy. Yeah. And so when you're doing that, and by the way, Melissa, how do you interface with all that?
We do the Love Hour conference, which we just had, and then of course the podcast, speaking engagements, and then I'm trying to get some brand deals as well. I'm just claim it in the future.
So you're
She also went on tour with me the first 2 years. We did the Love Hour as a show as well. She conveniently forgets that a lot of times.
So you get out there in front of the real live people at certain times too, in addition to just doing media kinds of things. Yeah, that's the one thing about this whole pandemic thing that I kind of miss, is actually getting in a room with, you know, in our case, there might be 50 people in the room who are just keenly interested in these ideas and batting them back and forth for 3 days. That has a juice to it that I miss. But you know, we're getting a lot of that juice here on on the internet too. Well, I wanted to also put in a plug for a couple of things. I plugged our fear resources at the Foundation for Conscious Living. And I also want to give a plug to our new podcast, the Big Leap podcast.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you have a podcast?
Yeah, we're doing a podcast now. Mike Koenings and I are doing it together. And at first it was kind of like him interviewing me, but now we're just batting ideas back and forth. And so wherever you get podcasts, check out the Big Leap podcast.
Right
you
now.
Ain't said nothing but a word, Gay. You ain't said nothing to me. Shoot, gonna tell me you got a podcast and I ain't know about it. We talking about Big Leap.
Well, we just started it a month or two ago. And we just had a wonderful young actor on it that we interviewed Milana Weintraub. And I know you know her because she's the helpful AT&T sales girl that's always trying to sell people a cell phone. But we interviewed her, and then we have conversations back and forth. But it's all about the big leap. That's what I always love to talk about more than anything else. You know, that universal success mantra that I gave in the big leap, that's one I use. That's my mantra, you know, and I continue to use that every day of my life.
So we're going to take a quick break. While we do that, make sure you go to the Big Leap podcast with Gary Hendricks and Mike Koenings. Right now, we'll also link it in the description of the show. Go ahead and subscribe to that podcast. I just did that. We'll be back in a second.
All right, guys. We're taking a break to tell all the men, before you go out and get your Maserati, make sure that you are...
freaking musty balls, you stanky ball, hairy ball sack, disgusting civil rights afro black power ball sack. Nobody wants a civil rights balls. Your balls shouldn't look like Angela Davis's fro. Your balls shouldn't look like the Jackson 5 are about to perform. Your balls need to be low even. Women want respectable balls. They want the balls to come here with a college degree, a 401k. Your balls are coming here with a bag of Jordans and a PS5 and nothing else they bring to the table. They're unkempt. They look like they live on Skid Row. Your balls deserve to look like they came out of a penthouse and a high-rise and a Maserati. And the way to get your balls in shape and get them neatly groomed is with Manscaped.
Manscaped is on a mission to change the grooming game with their below-the-waist grooming and hygiene products that they just released. And their products are now available in the UK, Canada, and Australia. This is what you're going to do, because we know you've heard the enthusiasm behind Joshua and Kevin's stamp of approval of Manscaped. So you're going to get 20% off. You're going to go to manscaped.com. You're going to use code LOVEHOUR. And you're going to upgrade that dong salon with the luxury products. Well, upgrade that at your personal salon at the house, inside the bathroom, with the luxury products of Manscaped. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to do it right now. You're going to go to manscaped.com. You're going to use the code LOVEHOUR. And you're going to get 20% off and free shipping. Code LOVEHOUR. Manscaped.com. Go do it right now. Let's get back to the show.
Shave your ball sack. All right, guys, we are back. Before we let Gay go, I want him to talk about the zone of genius. This part of the book really helped my mind. So, Gay, give it to us real quick before we let you go. Zone of genius. Can I just
ask one question that maybe you can include in the answer, that people always have the question of? How do you determine your zone of genius versus your zone of excellence?
Excellence.
Okay.
Yeah. Competence. Well, from working with a whole bunch of people and looking into their daily business lives as well as their relationship lives, most people spend their time in one of four zones.
Okay.
You mentioned the genius zone, but a good many of us waste our time in the zone of incompetence, where you're doing stuff you're not any good at, that somebody else could do better. And so, you know, like in my life, I'm hopeless as an organizer. My wife is a genius organizer. She's lots of other things too, but that's just one thing. So, wow, when I got connected up with her, it was like my life kicked up to a different level, because I wasn't always looking for my car keys or looking for where the checkbook was, or, you know, I spent half my life looking for stuff that I'd just thrown away somewhere. But anyway, that was me. So that's the zone of incompetence. The zone of competence is where you're doing stuff you're good at, but somebody else could do it just as well. Okay? Now you get into the zone of excellence, and that's getting to be pretty good stuff, because you're doing stuff that you're good at. You get feedback on it. You go out and step on stage and you make a nightclub full of people laugh, and they hand you a check and you're out the door. It's a good thing. You know, you use your zone of excellence. Now, by the way, I have a new book coming out in 2021 in the spring, called The Genius Zone. Ooh. And so it's all about this thing I want to talk to you about now. Your genius zone is where you really want to be spending most of your time. When I first figured this out, I was only spending about 10% of my time. Now I spend 90% of my time in my genius zone and
Yeah.
10% of my time doing other stuff. But for the last 20 years, that's where I've been focused. Your genius zone is where you're doing what you're uniquely suited to do.
Ooh, that was a good definition.
Yes.
When you do it, you feel aligned in yourself. You feel like you're using your energies for the best possible result.
Stop it.
Okay?
Stop.
And that's just, for most of us, though, that's not very much of our time when we start. That's why you need to build it up, like I suggest in the Big Leap, by beginning to make conscious intentions of building up your ability to handle more and more positive energy. So what happens is that in the genius zone, here are some good questions to get you into your genius zone. One question is, what do I love to do more than anything else about the work I do? What is it about I really love? That'll get you moving in the direction of your genius zone, because your genius zone is about what you most love to do. And it may take you some time to figure that out, but inside each of you, you know that there's this thing that you most love to do. And so for me, it's helping people solve problems and helping people learn how to get along better. If I can do that all day long, I don't even need to get paid for it. So that's another way to tell you're in your genius zone, which is, are you doing something that you love to do even though you're not getting paid for it? Right. Like I'm sure before you stepped on stage, Kevin, became a stand-up comic, you made a bunch of people laugh in the 6th grade.
Yes.
I was a class clown too. That was my designation, actually. And got me in a lot of trouble. But I'll tell you, there's no amount of trouble that can be imposed upon you in high school or elementary school that's bad enough to offset the pleasure of making your friends laugh.
That's so true.
You know, it's like Garrison Keillor one time when he was a kid, he threw a ripe tomato at his little sister who was bending over, and she was the goody-goody in the family, and he threw a tomato at her and hit her in the butt. And he got in lots of trouble for it, but he said, there's no amount of trouble that can offset the pleasure of just seeing that tomato splat on your little sister's butt. So it's the same way with being a class clown. You know, I love that designation to this day. And actually, of the times we were on Oprah, the couple of times that really stand out in my mind are things when I said something that made the audience laugh. You know, because even though I was talking about a serious subject, I don't think we have to be somber and like this to talk about serious subjects, you know? What we're talking about is the most serious subjects in the world, but I think people ought to have a good time talking about the serious subjects.
I love this because what it helped me in a specific way. I was consulting for a variety of companies, and I couldn't quite figure out why I didn't want to do that. I felt like it was easy money, and it was like, I can do it, and the pandemic, I should be doing it. And after I read this book, it clicked. I want to do that for my own companies, and I'm most excited when I'm creating and doing stuff that directly benefits me and the people around me. I am able to consult for you, and I'm able to tell you how to build your channel, and you know, I'm able to tell this person why your plant channel is working. And a lot of times people pay a lot of money, but I don't derive joy from that, and I don't want to. And what I was able to tell somebody was, I at this time, I'm better spent focusing on my stuff. I really won't give you what you want because it's not my zone of genius. I'm definitely excellent at it. I could make a living doing that if I so choose. Remember when Viacom company wanted to hire me, and Melissa was like, "You don't want to do that, Kevin." And I was like, "But it's so much money. It's so much this." She was like, "But at the end of the day, you don't want to build up somebody else's company. You want to build up your company. So you might as well spend your time building up your company."
Really important, because I make a distinction between ordinary creativity and true creativity. Ordinary creativity is when you're using your creativity, but you're using it for somebody else. And true creativity is when you're using it to fulfill your own life purpose and to enroll people in that, not to enroll people in somebody else's thing.
That's good.
That's why I sucked at. That's why I couldn't stay at All Deaf or work with anybody else's company. Okay, we have to let Gay go. Gay, right now, okay, as the Patreon watches this, Gay only has 4 or 5 episodes on The Big Leap. He has 18 ratings. Okay. I want you to subscribe to his podcast and give him a 5-star rating so that he can say, man, after Kev's thing, I've got X amount of ratings. So go on
Show
to
the impact.
And what that does for his podcast, when you have a lot of 5-star ratings, it jumps it up to the new and noteworthy and things like that. And more people will find out about it. So please subscribe to his podcast and give it a 5-star rating. I'm going to do it right now. So I'm going to be the 19th. and that way Gay will be like, I'm definitely coming back on Kevin List's podcast because now I know that there's value here. And I'm writing a review.
By the way, I'd be happy to come back with you too. Anyway, I love your energy, and I want to support couples who work together too, because my wife and I have had such a rich time working together that you can learn so much about your relationship, by working together. And so blessings upon you for that.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation, everything I wanted it to be. And if you have any closing remarks, Kev already directed the people where they can find you, but you can definitely close this out.
Well, good. Of course, Hendricks.com, HENDRICKS.com is a great place to find out about all our resources. And my latest book, Conscious Luck, is out now. And the new one, Genius Zone, is going to be out in the spring. So got a big year of all sorts of good stuff, and I'm sure we'll cross paths. But here's the number one thing. I do want you to come to my house. I have this beautiful circular driveway here that's full of succulents and beautiful hedges and things like that. And I want to see the Maserati roll slowly into the driveway. Okay?
There's no way I can't get it now.
And
you done invited me
no white Maseratis.
No white Maserati, Gay. I'm going to pull up in your circular driveway, say what up to the succulents in the black Levante, and I'm just going to have to do it. I'm sorry, Liz.
Actually, I'm going to look up a black Levante right now so I can get a clear image of you driving it. Okay,
you better manifest.
The first thing I'm going to do is when I get off the phone here is I like to have a little cooling down period before I go on about my other business. And I'm going to do a little bit of manifestation work on getting you connected up with the absolutely perfect Maserati.
You better make
By the way, I grew up in Florida near the Sebring racetrack. That's where I first became a car guy. And believe it or not, when I punched in the search for him, up comes a white one. Take that image out of your mind.
I'm getting the black one, Gay. And we coming to Ojai. That ain't number 2 hours, not even probably 2 from us.
No, okay, now I got the black one up here. So let me just get a clear picture of you driving this car. Melissa, do you like to drive too?
I'm sitting in the passenger seat.
Okay. Here's Melissa in the passenger seat. Gosh, that's a good looking.
Wow. Ain't it? Don't you just see us in there?
They have this. Are you going to get the Rebelli limited system?
You gotta go limited. I don't even know what that is yet, but I gotta get it.
Okay.
Listen, thank you.
I see you driving into my driveway in it, okay?
I'm pulling up. I can't come in nothing less now. You ain't gonna recognize me. You're looking for a man in a Maserati. If I come in anything less, you won't recognize me. I might not be able to come in.
And there's more than one way to get these things. You put out a lot of positive energy in the world, and you get well rewarded and everything. But lots of people see a guy like you or see a couple like you and say, wow, I'd love to make a donation to them. I'm going to give them a Maserati.
Maserati's agency reached out and wanted to use my video in their marketing campain. By the time I get they might
put a Levante in my driveway.
I love it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much, Gay. We really appreciate having you.
This has been so much fun.
Patreon, we're going to stay on and chat a little bit. The rest of you guys will see you next week.
Thank you.
Blessings to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.